You may have seen in a recent project we made concrete cone ring holders. Well, in this one I'm going to be using concrete again, but this time I'm going to pair it with an old towel and turn it into a stylish planter. The first thing you need to do with this project is get an old towel. Now of course the size of the towel will dictate the overall size of the planter in the end, so do keep that in mind. Once I'd picked out the towel that I wanted to use, I folded it in half and then in half again, and I drew on a rough quarter of an oval shape. I could then cut that shape out with a pair of scissors. All I really wanted to do was remove the outer edge from the towel. Once the towel's been cut to shape, it can be put to one side and we can start thinking about what are we going to use for a mould. I opted to use an old paint tub because I think it's going to be quite a decent size, and I used a couple of plant pots that I could stand on top of each other to raise it up off the ground. To try and prevent the concrete from sticking to the paint tub though, I did wrap it a few times with cling film. This should hopefully prevent it from sticking and make it easier to get the paint tub out once the concrete is fully set. So we got the towel ready and we got the mould and the stand ready to go as well. Now we can turn our attention to the concrete. I opted to use a ready mixed quick setting concrete for this. This means I don't have to add any more sand or aggregate. All I need to add is the water. To mix the concrete I used an old bucket, a trowel, a plastic tub to act as a bit of a scoop, and of course some gloves because concrete can irritate your skin. So if you have a go at doing this yourself, make sure you wear those gloves. Now there are mixing instructions on the bag of concrete, but I think for this application it's going to be much easier to mix it by eye and to mix it by feel. I tried to get it to a watery soup consistency. We're going to be needing to soak this into the towel itself, so a more traditional concrete mix just wouldn't soak in enough. So I mixed it until it was at a consistency I was happy with, and I could then dump the towel inside and squeeze it to try and soak up as much of that concrete mix. It soaked up a lot of the water really quickly and kind of left the concrete mix at the bottom, so I added a bit more water, mixed it round again and wrung out the towel and squeezed it and just mixed it all in as best as I could. I just wanted to saturate the towel as much as possible. Once I was happy with how much concrete had been absorbed into the towel, I could bring back in our mould and the stand and I could lay the towel over the top of it. When you're laying it out, this is the time that you've got to get it all perfect. You've got plenty of time with this because it's so wet, it will take quite a while to dry. So make sure you get all the pleats in the places that you want. I opted to have a much taller back and a shorter front, so I made sure that the towel was laid out in a position that I wanted. This can now be left to dry. I left it outside for a couple of hours to make sure that all the excess water had first dripped out of it, because it does drip for quite a while. Once it had stopped dripping, I could then move it inside somewhere warm to fully set and cure. I left it for a full 3 days to make sure that it was fully set and it had fully dried out before I even attempted to remove it from the mould. Once it was set, I brushed it down to remove any loose cement and any loose particles, and I could then attempt to remove it from the mould. Thankfully that cling film worked really well and the paint pot popped right out nice and easy. I cleaned out any loose particles on the inside as well, and then it was ready for paint. I opted to use a copper spray paint for the inside. This is a metallic effect, so I think with the texture of the concrete and with the pleats of the towel it should work really well. So I gave it a good coat all over the inside until everywhere was covered. Once that was dry, I could paint the outside. Now I opted to use a matte black paint, and I was unsure what order was best to do this in, whether to paint the outside then the inside. I obviously painted the inside first and then painted the outside, but to be honest I think you could have got away with either or. As I was doing the black paint on the outside, I did try using a scrap bit of wood just to prevent the overspray, but to be honest, I was wasting my time with that. So I left it and I just sprayed the outside as best as I could. Any overspray could be dealt with later, so I came back in with the copper paint and just went over wherever the black paint had oversprayed. I'm actually really pleased with how the paint came out on this one. I love the contrast of the copper and the matte black, but of course if you want a much sharper, precise edge, then using a brush is the way to go. Once the paint was fully dry, that's the planter done. Now I've made this for inside use, so I can add a house plant, a fake plant, could even add something like a statue inside. I think that would look really good. If you want to make one for outdoor use though, I would highly recommend drilling some holes in the bottom for extra drainage. The water needs somewhere to go after all, and I would also recommend painting on an extra layer of concrete. That should stiffen up the structure and make it better suited to hold up to the elements. If you want to add paint to it, then make sure you're using an outdoor paint as well. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. I think it's really eye-catching, and to be honest, I'm quite surprised with just how good it does actually look. Adding a plant to it sets it off nicely, and of course you can change up the colours to suit your decor and to suit whatever your style is. I really hope you like this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below saying what colours you would use on this. Do you actually like the copper and the black? I do, but I know that's not to everyone's taste, so let us know what colours you would go with. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure you click the subscribe button and then click the little bell icon next to it. That way you'll get a notification as soon as we upload a new video. Thank you all for watching.